Welcome to Empowered to Grow, the podcast. I am your host, Hanan Basha, the business doctor. Following our conversations with empowered women who woke up one day and consciously claimed, I am more than enough, I am worthy, I am empowered to grow. And along their empowering journey towards realizing their own potential and their quest for growth, they became a beacon of hope and guidance for others. May you also find your inner power to grow. Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the Unchartered discussions episode of Empowered to Grow. This is your host, Hanan Basha. Well, I've still got the beautiful Laura Doyle with me here today, the relationship expert and the New York Times bestselling author and podcast host of Empowered Wife, and a lot of other things. And you're also a relationship coach, and you've got an institute, you've got students and everything. And it started with you wanting to save your own marriage.
That's exactly right.
Talking of marriages and talking of relationships generally, and I know that the divorce rates now, I know within the Middle East, divorce rates are over 50%. And I think big chunk of it, when I talk to people, and for me as well, going into marriage, it was that we're not conditioned and programmed to transition from, oh, this is fun, from a dating, just getting to know each other, just like, a dependent relationship, into a partnership for life, which in essence, that's what a marriage is all about. Two people consciously coming together and saying, okay, let's spend the rest of our lives together. Let's see how that goes. So from your experience, is it a transition? Is it like a mindset switch we need to do? Is it a reprogramming of our own subconscious programming about marriages and relationships and everything else?
Well, it's interesting you frame it that way, because I think when I look back at my marriage, I think a lot of what I did was actually shift from the initial, I call it temporary insanity, right? Where you're falling in love and you don't notice anything like, oh, bad breath, or, oh my gosh, he watches ESPN all the time or whatever, right? So from that part, and it's such a delight, right? There's no magic quite like falling in love and feeling so seen and heard and understood and cherished. And I think for me, one of the sad things was I kind of dropped a lot of the habits that I had when I was falling in love and picked up new ones that were not so great for my relationship, actually. So when I first fell for him, I thought he was like one of the smartest people I'd ever met. And he's musical, he's really talented, and he's funny, and he's handsome. And then a few years in, I couldn't see any of that anymore. Familiarity really did breed contempt in my case. And so I had developed this, I had this very bad habit I think I had before him, which was controlling. I was the oldest of 4 kids. So I had these 3 little minions. I think that was my early training, right? It's like, they'd ask me questions and I'd tell them what to do. Now we're going to play store. You go stand over there, whatever. Right. So, and his early training, he's one of the youngest in his family of 5. So his early training was the opposite. He would ask questions and they would tell him what to do. So, so I think when we came together, it was like kind of familiar. So, and so one of the things that became really clear to me when I decided I really did want to relinquish this inappropriate control of my husband was to just refer him back to his own thinking about things that I had started taking on, where he knew if he didn't consult with me, he might get in trouble later. If he was making a big decision, like, which, like he's going to start a business, or if he was going to, I don't know, buy a new phone, or I don't know, get dressed. Let's face it, right? Like getting dressed, that would be something he'd have to consult me on first. So I developed this little cheat phrase that I started using to remind myself. It was kind of the way you teach children to say please and thank you. You're trying to cultivate a grateful heart. And so I decided I wanted to cultivate a more trusting heart. And I came up with the phrase, whatever you think, whatever you think. So he would say, do you think I should take the car in for breaks this week or next week? And I would say, oh, whatever you think. Like he's handling that for us, And inside I'm thinking, that's the brakes, buddy. You don't let those go. Right. But I'm like, I hope he doesn't, I hope we don't die in a car crash because there's no brakes, but whatever you think. Right. So I was choosing my faith each time by saying this. And so one of the things that happened was all of a sudden my husband looked taller because I was like trusting him. I remember some friends even commenting like, what happened to John? He looks taller. They even said that he looks taller. And I think he was just standing more proud
Yeah, exactly.
that he could take care of our family. And one of my students had a great story about this. It was the very first thing she read a book that I'd written, and she got a glimpse of her contribution to the mess in her marriage in a way that she hadn't before. And she decided she was going to experiment with this little phrase, because what did she have to lose? She was in her second marriage. It was in big trouble. They'd been sleeping in separate beds for 6 months. And her husband said to her, well, I need you to tell me what you want me to do about the cell phone plan. We need to pick a new plan. And she said, oh, whatever you think, right? Like just right straight out of the
Casually,
book.
yeah.
Casually. But she said it just felt like the weirdest thing. She was a CFO of a very large private school. So that was a really strange thing for her to say. And he thought so too. He was like, no, come on. I need you to tell me what I should do here. Because he didn't want to be in trouble later. He knew he was going to get in trouble if he didn't do it right. And she just repeated it. She said, whatever you think, I trust you. So he went away and took care of the cell phone plan by himself. And she thought, oh my God, I hope he doesn't screw it up. Well, he did fine, right? He did fine.
Yeah.
And then that night he came to her and he said, you were so nice today. And tears just streamed down her face, and they slept in the same bed that very night. And she thought, okay, I'm onto something, because she'd been going to marriage counseling by herself for months, once a week, complaining about her husband for an hour a week, which nobody ever got happier that way, right? By complaining about your spouse for an hour a week. So she quit the counseling. She signed up to train with me to become a coach. And she still gets tears in her eyes now, because that was 20 years ago.
Wow.
And she talks about how tragic it would have been had she divorced this man who's the love of her life. And she really turned that marriage around and kind of fixed the whole family. They had a blended family with they each had 2 kids. And now that whole family just feels like a very loving life's work together, right? So kind of what you're talking about. So for me, just sort of it's really cultivating virtues, right? You're cultivating faith and trust and respect and happiness, gratitude. But using my marriage as a mirror, like at the ballet bar, right, to see how my form is, has been invaluable.
That's it. And I think it's exactly what you were touching on. It's I trust you. I'm giving you this space. I'm also allowing you to, be independent, because I think a lot of the times is where there's this dependency on, I'm expecting this of you, and I'm not going to do it. You're expected to do it. And then there's the other side of the coin of it. The flip is, but I'm not telling you what I'm expecting. There's this like invisible expectations that just kind of get us into trouble, because then comes the lack of communication, without the lack of constructive communication, rather than the critical ostracizing of, I told you and you should have and I should have, and that kind of thing. So is it about that? Is it about that we kind of, sometimes it's about stepping in, thinking that you're expected to do it or they're not expected to do it?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think we all have our training from our upbringings, our families, where we get our first relationship training, right? So good or bad, whatever, that was our training. And so you might learn about expectations or resentment, or not learn about expressing your desires in a way that inspires someone else, or even the beauty of yin and yang, I think was, I know for me, a comparative religion student once explained to me that every object has yin and yang. And I loved that. He said, like a coffee cup, the ceramic part of a coffee cup, right? Like here's my teacup, actually. This ceramic part is the yang. That's the part that gives it structure. And then this part where you can put stuff into it, that's the yin, the part that can receive. And if you think about a coffee cup where you couldn't put anything in and it didn't receive anything, it would have no purpose.
No.
So I think one of the things that was lost on me was how valuable my receiving was in our marriage. And I honestly wasn't very good at it early on. And when I talk about receiving, I mean maybe gifts, compliments, help, special treatment, apologies. So my husband would say, "Gosh, you look so beautiful." And I go, "No, I haven't washed my hair.
Yeah.
Don't look at me." Or he would say, he would, "Do you want me to carry that heavy thing for you?" And I was like, "No, I've got it. Like, I'm a
Exactly.
well-educated feminist and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can
yeah. Do you
do
think
this
I
by
can't carry
myself.
my stuff?
Did you
And
think I can't
yeah,
carry this?" Yeah. I love the way Connie Schultz talks about it. She says, before she would let her husband make her a cup of coffee, she wanted to be sure that it wouldn't interfere with her ability to have her own bank account and own property. Right. And of course it doesn't. It doesn't. Right. And even as a metaphor, physically, our bodies are built to receive.
yeah.
So I really took that to heart and became a student of how to receive graciously. And so it might be that somebody gives me a compliment that I'm like the "you look beautiful" thing, right? I'm like, "No, my hair's dirty," or whatever. I remember I was at an event where we had been at a dance party the night before, and this woman walked up to me and this other woman who was a really good dancer, and she said, "You two are such good dancers." And I was thinking in my head, like, yeah, she's a good dancer, right? But instead of rejecting that, how does that serve me? Really? Why wouldn't I just take on her view of me as a good dancer? What would that hurt? So I caught myself in that moment and I just said, "Oh, thank you," instead of telling her what I was
Exactly.
actually thinking. And so it creates a little bubble of intimacy and connection in that moment when you're willing to receive something, even if it doesn't feel authentic to you. In some ways, I feel like it benefits me more to adopt her positive viewpoint than my own more negative one.
Exactly. I used to thinking of the receiving compliments when I first started embracing my curls. Like I used to straighten my hair for forever, and about 4 years ago,
Oh,
I started kind of really embracing the curls and
they're
nurturing them.
beautiful. I
Thank
love
you.
your
Well,
curls.
thank you. I never said thank you before. And this lady at the hairdresser, I was sitting and doing my nails, and she's like, "Oh my God, I love your curls." I'm like, and it immediately hit me and it's like, "Oh, really? My husband hates my hair curly and stuff, but I'm trying to nurture it and I'm trying to take care of it and stuff." And the lady tried to reaffirm because, she's complimenting, I don't know her, she's complimenting my curls. And I realized that was one of the moments that I realized, hang on a second, why am I taking this as an excuse that first I'm telling myself that I'm doing something against my husband's will, so he's not really enjoying it. Second, I'm taking away my own work that I put in, my own awareness and work that I put in to nurture those curls back because they were completely damaged before. My hair was a mess. I actually chopped it off and I had to start all over again, kind of thing. And then I had a conversation with my husband. I'm like, I had this, and I was telling, and he's like, "I don't hate your curls. I don't like frizzy hair that's all over the place." And that is when I didn't know how to take care of it. But he was
That's
actually
right.
enjoying how I'm embracing my curls and taking care of them. I'm like, that's a simple thing. That's, it's just about how I look. And he compliments. He's like, that looks nice. Or today, your curls need a wash. What do you
Oh,
mean? Kind of thing.
yeah.
but
Yeah.
but that's the thing. It's about being able to receive compliments and being able to receive constructive feedback in a way that you do not take it as an attack or as an
Mm,
insult or as
mm.
an no, that shouldn't be the case. You're doing well. And it really does impact a relationship because it impacts, as you were talking about, intimacy, and it's
Yes.
and it's being open with each other. And I think the bottom line for me, I found that the bottom line of, or the lifeline of intimacy, is open communication.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I like what you're pointing to here too is like emotional safety, right? Intimacy thrives when there's emotional safety.
Yes.
And for me, I had really been trained to use these I statements, right? Speaking of open communication, when you do this, I feel whatever.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I didn't really understand them, I'm sure, or I still don't maybe understand them, because I would use them as a, when you don't take out the trash, I feel abandoned, right?
There's
Or I'd say,
criticism in it.
yeah, exactly. When you don't do something, then I feel like you don't care about me, which is not a feeling at all, right? It's not even close to a feeling. It's just me saying I feel and then saying any damn thing I want, but it's critical afterwards, right? So it's not, that was just not helpful. So I feel like in some ways when I mean, everybody knows communication is so important in relationships, but so much of the communication training that I see in the world, the conventional wisdom, I mean, I tried that and it just got me deeper into a ditch.
Yeah.
So I'm really grateful to have a new way now where I would honestly, like one of the things I used to do, embarrassingly, was I would, I call them State of the Union addresses, where I'd sit them down on the couch, like, we got to talk about our relationship,
Yeah.
and they go
We
on
need to
for,
talk. I think that's the most
we
scary
need to talk. It's
statement in a
awful.
relationship. We need to talk.
I haven't said those words in probably 20 years now, and I don't miss saying them, right? Because we don't need to talk about our relationship, except once in a while, if we're going to just gloat and bask in like how happy we are together or something. But there's nothing else to talk about because, and I mean, we talk about our plans and our dreams for the future, and we'll have deep conversations about what feels meaningful and important in our lives, but it's not, we never have to say, when you do this, I blah, blah, blah. Because, and this is back to the empowerment aspect, right? It's like, as long as I am cleaning up this side of the street, as long as I'm taking care of Laura, then why would I even need to, I don't, there's nothing to say. He knows my desires. I'm pretty good at saying how I feel now, but I'm not interested to tell him how he needs to do anything differently. It just wasn't helpful.
I love that. And I think you just kind of really wrapped it up. Again, it's going back to the same point. It's about taking care of you, empowering yourself, and being clear to yourself of kind of, the internal self-reflection and self-analysis, not critical, non-critical, or at least that's, but in a way that empowers you to understand who you are, what do you want, and accordingly, kind of becoming a better version of yourself, which will resonate to everyone around you, especially your partner,
completely.
because that's really the impact. And just, okay, the last point I want to bring up with you, and this is something that's been going around in the kind of the statements, how before marriage or relationships were framed as like, we come together and we complement one another and we fill each other's gaps and stuff. And now there's more of the notion of we're whole. I'm 100%, you're 100%. We've come together to bring our 100% together rather than the 50-50, and let's fill each other's cup. What are your views on that?
Well, I mean, I really enjoy the yin and yang, like we've been talking about, right? I love that my husband is, one of his big goals in life is to make me happy. And that's a very yang thing. I've asked thousands of men, how important is it to you that your wife is happy? And they all say the same thing. They say, oh, it's very important, or it's the most important thing. And in the UK, they'd say it's imperative, right? So I love this about the masculine, the yang, that this is a high, high priority. And I am convicted that part of our birthright as women is to be adored, to be cherished, to feel desired. And that's something I care deeply about.
Yeah.
So I think when I think about a 50-50 or 100-100, I take that paradigm into consideration, that, I guess I'm 100, but I wouldn't want to live alone. I really love being loved every day. I love feeling seen and heard and understood. And I think it's our birthright. So I want to have that. And I think where I got really tripped up too, with my feminist viewpoint about things being 50-50, I guess back from that paradigm was, I think it was Marilyn Monroe that said women who seek equality lack ambition. Because I mean, today, I'm the one that gets all this special treatment. Like if it's raining, he'll be like, let me go get the car. Here's my jacket. And I'm like, all right, thank you. Where I probably wouldn't have received that so well early on, but now I do. And him just like bringing in my tea. So I love the distinctions between the masculine and the feminine.
Same here.
And I see that as a gift, a blessing to enjoy.
And the same, as you said, and the same the other way. They also, men want to be seen, heard, and loved and appreciated on a daily basis. And that's why they also need the appreciation.
And respect is their main thing. I want to be desired and adored, and he wants to be respected. And that was just a mind-blowing paradigm shift, because I thought I knew what that meant. I think we all think, oh yeah, respect. Okay, I get that. Well, I didn't know what it meant. And most of my students are shocked when they learn a little more about it too on our campus, because I remember even I would have said like, oh, I respect everything except for the way he drives and the way he dresses and what, right? Like I wasn't respectful at all. Or I would say, oh yeah, I tell him where I'm going to be and I don't leave him mess. And so I'm very thoughtful, right? I'm respectful. No, respect for them is that you think they're smart, you think they're capable, and you expect the best from them instead of expecting the worst. And that means there's no need for me to be devil's advocate when he's complaining about work or something. I don't have to go, well, have you thought about blah blah blah, or maybe you should have done da da da. It's like that's me undermining his best thinking, right? Versus maybe just bearing witness by just listening and saying, I hear you, I don't agree, I don't disagree. But what you say is important to me.
Thank you. I love that. I know I can chat with you for hours, because I know that every woman I've ever spoken to, including myself, we've always stopped and kind of first thought there was something wrong with us because we can't end up with the right partner. And then you start realizing when you really stop and analyze, okay, hang on a second, I am the common denominator in all these relationships. Maybe I need to look inside and see who am I? And then accordingly, when I define myself further and I define my desires and my expectations, I will be attracting my partner into my life. And then, we can have this. And as you said, it's the yin yang, and it's the mutual communication, mutual interest, respect, love, understanding. And I think we really need to look inside first, as you said. It's just about that.
Absolutely, because that's where the power is. When you do that, even hopeless relationships where you think, oh my gosh, how can this ever come back? There's an affair, there's a divorce filed, they've been separated, they're having a Cold War for 10 years. How can this ever be repaired? But when, especially the wife, the keeper of the relationship, becomes empowered by looking at herself, her side of the street, we see, to paraphrase Thomas Wolfe, miracles not only happen, they happen all the time.
That's true. Thank you. Thank you, Laura. This has been really, really enriching and definitely intriguing on so many levels as well.
Yes.
Pleasure. It really has been a pleasure. And thank you for being on the show. Thank you for sharing your energy and your knowledge and your wisdom and everything that comes along with it.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure as well. Well, I think we'll have to sum it up again. And empowered you empowers others. Look inside of you, become the best version that you could manifest for yourself, and be at the epicenter, or be the epicenter of the positive impact ripple effect, and see how your life will transform around you. Thank you for being with us. I wish you love, abundance, and prosperity. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Empowered to Grow podcast. For further engagement with a tribe of empowered women, join my Facebook group, Empowered to Grow, or visit my website, www.hananelbasha.com. I'll catch you on the next episode. And until then, know that empowered you empowers others. Love, abundance, and prosperity to you all.